I'd like to call our meeting to order. It is 6:06 and declare that we do have a board quorum present. If you will please stand for our invocation, which will be led by Mr. Dunn, and our pledges of allegiance, which will be led by Freeport Intermediate students, Amaya Tristan Ramos, the Student Council President. We have Christian Arroyo, the National Junior Honor Society President, and Aliyah Aluzio, our PALS representative from FIS.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you so much just for this time, Lord, that we just pause and just give you thanks. You've been good to us, blessed our district and our communities in so many ways, and especially this time of year, Lord, we just don't take that for granted, and we just thank you for it. Lord, we just ask that you would bless the things tonight that are talked about, the decisions that are put forth, Lord. We just look to you for guidance. And just pray that you continue to have your hand on this district and in this community. Father, we just thank you and love you for all that you do. Forgive us for your faith. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Continue standing for the Texas pledge. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
We'd like to ask our board to begin making its way to the front as we transition into our awards, achievements, and recognition time. I will now turn the presentation over to Mrs. Carla Christman.
Good evening, Superintendent Massey, Board President Howard, board members, staff, and guests. Tonight, we have some wonderful things to celebrate in our awards, achievements, and recognition. Our first recognition will be presented by our BISD Athletic Director, Mr. Alan Liddell.
State cross-country championship meet for both 6A and 4A was held recently at Ramrod, Texas. Both Brazos Wood and Brazos Port were well represented. Brazos Port's David Gomez, coached by Coach Robert Nichols, placed 50th in a very competitive field with his personal best time ever of 16 minutes and 40 seconds. David, during the year, won the Brazosport Invitational, was second in the District 23 4A Championship meet. After district, he finished 17th in regional in what was his personal best time at the time of 17:33. What's significant about that is that David improved almost 1 entire minute over his regional time from the year before. Congratulations, David, on a job well done. Brazosport High School and alumni are very proud of you. Brazos Woods Junior Sam Whitway and Senior Madison Haybeck, who were coached by Coach Michael Cummins, also earned the opportunity to compete in the state cross-country meet. Sam competed very well in a very tough and competitive 6A crowd, finishing in a time with 16 minutes and 16 seconds. Sam finished second in District 23 6A Championship meet in a personal best of 15 minutes 54 seconds, which is the 6th best in the 50 years history of Brazos Wood High School. Sam finished 13th in regional, and the state's 800-meter defending champion was also second in the Brazos Wood Invitational. Sam was also selected to the all-regional cross-country team. Madison finished 50th in the talented and crowded 6A girls division with a time of 18 minutes and 43 seconds. Her outstanding senior year included a second best overall time for Brazos Wood at personal for 18:41, and she was the District 23 6A championship title. She also placed second in the Brazos Wood Invitational, second at the Sam Houston Regional Preview, and was the runner-up at the Brenham meet. Madison is also a member of the all-regional cross-country team and has earned all-state academic honors also. Congratulations to all our cross-country runners and who have brought pride and enthusiasm to Brazos Wood Independent School.
Mr. Reinhardt, you know. Our next recognition this evening will be presented by Mr. Chris Hutchison, Coordinator of Fine Arts. Mr. Hutchison.
Brazoria County Fair Rodeo Arts Awards. Brazoria County held its 81st Fair and Rodeo this past October, and BISD high school art students earned numerous awards. Our talented auction-winning artists include some of these students had conflicts, but I'm going to leave the art up just a little bit so you can see them. Duong Tang. Cora Bowles. Nini Tran. Alexa Medinjan. Leslie Reyes. Javier Castillo, I'm sorry, let me do that again. Castillo. And Fiona Fang. These students are under the direction of Katie Stollard and Connolly Lusk.
Everybody smile. One more. Here we go. Thank you. And now I have the pleasure of presenting BISD's most prestigious Extra Mile Award to two very deserving community members. I'd like to invite Brazosport Rotarians Barbara Franklin and Lucy Pendon to join Mr. Max. BISD created the Extra Mile Award several several years ago to recognize individuals or groups for their dedication to students and their willingness to go the extra mile for BISD. Barbara Franklin and Lucy Pendon have certainly gone that extra mile and so much more. With their guidance, the Brazosport Rotary Club has operated the Summer Safety Town program for all incoming first graders for the past 31 years. The week-long program teaches safety lessons about fire, pedestrian traffic, water guns and poison and drugs, and so very much more. The children are taught the rules of safety by various representatives from the community. They have visits from the local police, the fire department, with a hands-on look at their jobs, their uniforms, their badges, and equipment. A miniature town, complete with streets, sidewalks, buildings, and traffic devices, create a child-sized but lifelike area where the children practice crossing the street safely and obeying traffic signs and signals. And I must say they learn all about seatbelt safety. My grandchildren, very much so. All of this does not just happen each year like clockwork without some major leadership. And these two ladies work beforehand to communicate the summer program to all BISD kinder parents. They oversee the staffing, the volunteers, the student helpers, and the community partners. They oversee the setup, the running, and the takedown each year, which is no small feat. This one program has impacted thousands of children throughout the 31 years of its operation. And because of this, ladies, and so very much more, BISD would like to award you both with the Extra Mile Award, and thank you so much for your service. That's right, they did.
No, you're not good.
Oh. You want these? Yes, just like the kids. Okay.
Make sure everybody turn on.
And now, since we have Ms. Franklin up here, Ms. Franklin has a presentation from the Community Foundation of Brazoria County.
I'm going to switch gears and put on my hat for my paying job. I am pleased to present tonight checks to Velasco Elementary, T.W. Ogg Elementary, Griffith Elementary, and Freeport Elementary. Those representatives will come up here. These are from Project Good Foundation, which is sponsored by the Community Foundation of Brazoria County. These have been made to each of the schools. Principals on the campus will coordinate the use of the funds. They are at your discretion to use as you see fit. The money is meant to be flexible so that individual students can be helped. We just asked you to send a little email of a report on what you did with the money at the end of the year. We hope that these grants will make a real difference in the lives of your students and teachers and can help give students an opportunity to succeed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Again, sadly, this does conclude tonight's awards and recognitions, but we will be back December 16th with more students and staff and accomplishments and honors.
Take a picture.
time, in accordance with BED local, the board will provide an audience with individuals who have signed up prior to the meeting to address the board.
Mr. President, our sheet went missing. Is there anybody here that is wishing to address the board? Yeah, that maybe didn't sign up because there wasn't a sheet? Thank you.
All right. Seeing none, then we'll move forward. Next item on our agenda are public hearings. It's a public hearing. Rebecca Kelly will now conduct a public hearing to discuss school first.
Good evening. In accordance with Board Policy CFA Legal, it is my pleasure to facilitate the public hearing for our 2019 Annual Financial Management Report, or more commonly known as our first reading. Included in your agenda documents is a full copy of the report. Under School First, districts report certain financial data to TEA, including the district's annual financial report. TEA assigns a financial accountability rating to each district. Then within 2 months, each district must announce and hold a public meeting to distribute the report that explains the district's performance to taxpayers and parents. The School First was developed by the Texas Education Agency in response to legislation that was passed in 1999. In 2006, performance under School First was added as consideration for accreditation along with academic performance. School First provides additional transparency to public education and finance and meaningful financial oversight and improvement to school districts. Pursuant to Texas Education Code requirements, the Commissioner of Education has adopted rules to implement and administer School First. Districts may receive one of 4 financial accountability ratings: A for superior achievement, B for above standard achievement, C for standard achievement, and F for substandard achievement. TEA will base the district's rating on the district's overall performance on the financial measurements, ratios, and other specified indicators. The ratings are based on data from the immediate prior fiscal year. This data includes the district's annual financial report, PENS data, warrant holds, and the district's average daily attendance information used for school funding purposes. There are 15 indicators on which our rating is based. The first 5 are designated critical indicators and must be passed in order to avoid an F rating. These critical indicators are as follows: timely filing of the annual financial report and the data feed submission to TEA, an unmodified opinion with no material weaknesses in the annual financial report, compliance with the payment terms of all debt agreements, timely payments to other governmental entities, and 5, unrestricted net assets balance of greater than 0. BISD passed all 5 critical indicators. Indicators 6 through 12 are solvency indicators, some of which are scored either 0 or 10, and some of which are scored on a sliding scale of 0 to 10. BISD received 70 out of 70 possible points. Indicators 13 through 15 are financial competence indicators, all of which are scored either 0 or 10. BISD passed all 3, receiving 10 points for each indicator. Brazosport ISD has once again earned the highest achievable rating. This marks the 17th consecutive year that BISD has received the top score for this accountability measure used by Texas Education Agency. BISD received an A for superior achievement, passing all critical indicators and receiving a perfect score. Our superior rating was achieved as a collaborative effort, and I'd like to thank not only our funding and finance team, but our HR, department staff, our department budget owners, our principals, and our compliance and data quality department responsible for the data submission to TEA. We are proud of this rating as it demonstrates our commitment to taxpayers to use funds efficiently and in a manner that maximizes dollars spent on quality educational experiences. This is a public hearing, so I'm happy to answer any questions from the board or comments from the audience.
As she said, this is a public hearing, so audience participation is invited. If you have any questions concerning this, Ms. Rebecca would be happy to answer any questions. Not everybody at once. If none from the audience, do we have any questions from the board? No pressure, 17 years in a row, so yeah.
Next year, the whole system will be significantly changed. So we have new indicators, and so it'll be
Next item on our agenda is our consent agenda. Are there any items requested to be pulled from the consent agenda from our board? If none, then do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion from Mr. Atkins. Do I have a second? Second from Joe. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. All right, that carries. Thank you. Our next item on the agenda are our action items. Action item A is the purchase of land located at 260 Dixie Drive, Clute, Texas 77531. Ms. Kelly.
All right, in accordance with policy BAA, the Board of Trustees may acquire and hold real and personal property in the name of the district. The district has the opportunity to purchase from Eric and Susan Whitmire the property located at 260 Dixie Drive. The district has entered into a purchase agreement for $275,000. Acquiring this property will provide flexibility when evaluating the traffic patterns, along with the overall safety and security for the entire site of the new Brazos Wood High School. Tonight, board approval is required to proceed with due diligence and closing. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the purchase of real property located at 260 Dixie Drive and authorize the superintendent or designee to negotiate and enter an agreement for the purchase of the real property, to conduct reasonable and necessary due diligence related to the purchase, and take all other appropriate and necessary actions to close the transaction.
All right.
I move for approval.
One, do I have a second? Second by Ms. Cuellar. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. All right, that carries. Next item is the purchase of the land located at 264 Dixie Drive, Clute, Texas. Right next door.
Yes, absolutely. In accordance with board policy BAA, the Board of Trustees may acquire and hold real and personal property in the name of the district. The district has the opportunity to purchase from Advantage Home Buyers Incorporated the property located at 264 Dixie Drive. The district has entered into a purchase agreement for $145,000. Acquiring this property will provide the flexibility when evaluating the traffic patterns and the overall safety and security for the entire site. Tonight, board approval is required to proceed with due diligence and closing. So it is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the purchase of real property located at 264 Dixie Drive and authorize the superintendent or designee to negotiate and enter an agreement for the purchase of the property, to conduct reasonable and necessary due diligence related to the purchase, and take all other appropriate and necessary actions to close the transaction.
Do you hear a motion?
Just a quick comment. I just thank you for getting this done. This is something I've been pushing for probably over a year and a half now. But I think it's going to make a huge impact for the site and safety and exiting and light control there for our students getting in and out of our campus here at B-Wood. I think it's long overdue, and I'm glad we're finally getting it done tonight. So I'd make a motion that we approve it.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Dunn. The motion by Mr. Swartner, seconded by Mr. Dunn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All by nay. All right, that carries as well. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Next item on our action item is action item C, the resolution to vote for candidate for the Board of Directors of the Missouri County Appraisal District. Is that also you?
It is.
All right.
In accordance with board policy CCH Legal, the Board of Trustees is entitled to vote for the Appraisal District Board of Directors. Board members serve 2-year terms. On September 16th, BISD Board of Trustees nominated Gail Robinson. Ms. Robinson is the current Brazoria County Appraisal District Board member with 3 terms of tenure. Her prior service as a board member and her experience as a realtor in our community made her an obvious choice for our nomination. Administration has received certification from Cheryl Evans, the Chief Appraiser of Brazoria County Appraisal District, that Brazosport ISD is entitled to 1,165 votes for the 5 directors to be elected. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees cast the district's 1,165 votes for Ms. Gail Robinson.
All right. We have a recommendation from the board to cast our vote votes for Bill Robinson.
Just,
Yes, sir?
just as a question, how many total votes are given out, do you know?
I do not. I know that
That'd be one of the bigger
they're
deals.
allocated based on the size.
Yeah.
So our votes alone,
Yeah.
will carry her.
Right.
But I don't know the total.
I don't know if it's worth looking into, but it would be interesting to know if we split our votes between two, if we could elect two people. Be close, huh?
Years ago, that couldn't happen, but.
Oh, you had to vote one?
Yeah, you had to cast them all to one person.
No, you can vote, you can split them, but years ago, the school district didn't have enough to elect two.
Two.
Especially if cities get together.
Yeah, 'cause I thought
and
we
the
used
county
to
get
do,
together.
we used to do like 3 or 4 at the council.
Yeah, but you hadn't been, you only had.
Yeah, we didn't have very many votes.
Yeah, you only had.
Yeah, we didn't have
Like 175.
max.
But
Just a
yeah,
thought.
we
The
could-
idea is to get at least one that represents our geographical region, and she serves that.
Okay, that's all good. Move for approval.
All right. It's been moved by Mr. Swartner. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Atkins. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. Carries as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beckham. Next item on our agenda is action item D, innovative course offerings, additions, and changes. Mr. Brian Cope.
Good evening. In accordance with Board Policy EH Local and District Goal, Brazosport ISD will provide a rigorous and relevant learning experience to ensure that every student will be future ready. It is my pleasure to present recommendation regarding innovative courses. The Texas Education Agency recently changed the amount of credit awarded for PAL courses, or Peer Assistance and Leadership, from 1 credit to 1/2 credit. This effectively reduces our traditional 2-year PAL program to a 1-year PAL program without further action. Peer Assistant and Leadership courses utilize the potential of youth to make a difference in their lives, schools, and communities. PALS nurtures and builds capacities to help youth develop protective factors, helping them achieve school and social successes that lead to a productive life. The administration recommends that the board approve the following options to provide for the continuation of a 2-year PAL program. Those are the creation of a 1-period, 2nd-year PAL course for local credit, and the offering of Practicum of Human Services, which is a 2-period CTE-weighted course, with a focus on the continuation of services provided by students in the PAL program. The administration recommends that the board approve the recommended course changes as presented. At this time, I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Yes, sir, Mr. Atkins.
Do we know the justification for changing the credit numbers other than?
The state reviewed all innovative courses that were listed as a 1/2 credit and a full credit, and they made a decision whether or not those courses should be only 1/2 credit or a full credit based on their review of the standards that were tied to those courses. So some districts have really embedded the 2-year program within their schools and have great programs going, and other districts have stuck with more of the 1/2 credit model and have seen successes there as well. And the state opted to pursue the 1/2 credit model, which has caused some commotion around neighboring districts.
Well, from my experience when my kids were in school, which was a long time ago, the PAL program is pretty successful, don't you think?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it doesn't make a lot of sense, but also if we do the CTE practicum, don't we get increased funding for that?
Yes, for students that are enrolled, that is CTE weighted, it would be a 2-period course. A lot of the students that are in PALS also traditionally may have, for instance, a TA period or something along those lines that may not be receiving a weighted stated funding. So providing a 2-period option could be a great opportunity for our students.
That seems a better option.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And one thing I'm proud of, we moved the PAL program into our intermediate schools, and that's a plus there. It makes a big difference. I move for approval.
All right. Any other questions for you? All right, it's been moved by Joe to accept the recommendation for the administration. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Atkins. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. All right, that carries. Thank you, Mr. Cole.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is action item E. That's the consent agenda. After none were pulled. So the next thing we have on our agenda are our reports. Report A would be our bond planning and construction update. Mr. Alex Jornay. No, he's a little further.
You're not as fast as Brian. He was there already.
I'll slow it down a little bit. Good evening. In accordance with Board Policy CV Local, it's my pleasure to present the 2014 bond update. As of November 18th, total POs issued of $142,559,780, or approximately 81.46% completed or in progress. This slide shows the list of completed projects. This slide is our current project, which is Robertson Brannon Elementary. This is the architect's view of Roberts Elementary, which you've seen before. This shows the driveways and traffic patterns. And this is a drone photograph. This is not new. You saw this same photograph last month, but I left it on there just to show you that kind of give you a representation of what it looks like. It looks a lot better there than now than it does there. This is a view of the front showing some of the sidewalks and the driveways that are in place, and the brick that's going on the building. This is the same front view showing further down towards the other end. Almost the entire front of the building has all of the brick on it. This is a view of the back of the building. They're getting all of the waterproofing on, and down towards the gymnasium and cafeteria is where they've got a lot of the brick on. All of the paving is done in the back of the school as well. That lake that is there right now, although it looks really nice in this picture, I thought, that's actually a small detention pond that we really don't call a detention pond. It's just got a storm drain down in the middle of it. It's currently not connected, but we will have the track around that area, but that area will still be usable for the kids to play on and all whenever it's not wet.
I'm going to say it works. The retention pond works as a retention pond. You can do it now again.
Yeah. It's just not getting rid of it like we need it. But it is definitely serving its purpose during construction. These are some interior pictures. This is the kitchen area, and you can see the block walls are up, and a lot of the duct work and the firewater piping is in. This is a view from the overlook down into the library area, and this is just a view outside the stream lab, and this is down one of the corridors that's showing all the drywall is all installed on one side. Now we're insulating, and they're starting to put the drywall on the other side of the walls. Brannon Elementary is moving along well, I'm happy to report. Things are really speeding up over there. We finally have the final slab poured. This drone photograph was taken last Friday, and we have the final slab poured, as I said. We also have the fire lane, the bus loop poured, which is in the bottom right hand of the photograph, and then of course the side stacking lane, which is in the far right hand of the photograph. This is a view of the front of the school, and the dirt that you see in the area in the very front, that's all the parking lot, and they're framing that up now. Some of that is scheduled to be poured this week. This is a view of the front looking towards the main entry. And this is a view of the slab that was just poured that we currently have the steel going up on it. That particular wing is always saved for last because that is the one that goes the fastest. It does not have a lot of, it's mainly just classrooms. And so that goes a lot faster than the other two areas go. This is a view looking towards the two-story. This is from the front looking towards the two-story wing, and that is also the bus loop in the foreground. This is looking at the back of the school from the the stacking lane that's over on the side of the property out towards almost to 2004. This is the interior of the school. You see a lot of the ductwork going in as well as metal framing for drywall. This shows the stairs that have gone in for the two-story wing, and then the elevator pit, which is immediately to the left of that. This slide is of the cafeteria and gymnasium, and you can see the stage over to the right of the photograph. I would also like to add that next month in the December regular board meeting, we will have Todd Lean with VLK Architects will do a presentation on Brazos Wood High School projects, as well as Stephen F. Austin. And I'll be happy to answer any questions y'all may have.
How are you feeling about Brandon?
Feel good about Brandon.
Gonna make it?
It's going to be tight, but we will make it. We will make it. We have a plan in place. We will move out of the existing campus, and we're going to, we already have a plan to store everything that was going to be moved into the new campus. We're going to store that while we finish up and get certificate of occupancy, and then we'll move in. In the meantime, Roberts will be finished up probably around the beginning of March, so we're able to start accepting the new furniture for that, get all of that assembled and in place, even though we can't move out of the old school until, obviously, until school's out. But at least we'll have the furniture out of the way, and that's a big time consumption right there. And a lot of times, like when we moved into OG or any of the other campuses, we have new furniture assembly folks climbing on top of the movers moving out of the old campus, and it works. It's normal procedure, I guess, just because of the timing. But we'll be able to get Roberts out of the way, so that way they'll be able to focus on Brandon. But as far as the schedule that they currently have, a lot of the major weather problems that we have, they're gone. Well, they're not gone, but they're out of the way. We got that final slab in finally, and that's a big help. So I think I'm very confident that it'll be fine and we'll open on time.
Did we start getting some 2019 bond updates, like PO issue and all that, get that added to it?
Yes.
Absolutely. Is it?
All right.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Got to tear down a couple houses now, huh?
I like that.
Like he's not doing anything. Next item we have under our reports is the CBA's, the curriculum-based assessment. Mr. Darren Cole.
Good evening again. In accordance with Board Policy EH Local and Brazos Report ISD District Goal, we will provide a rigorous and relevant learning experience to ensure that every student will be future ready. It is my pleasure to present a report on our fall curriculum-based assessments. At the district level, curriculum-based assessments indicate relative performance of campuses and teachers. They provide us with the needed information to study and replicate best practices and mobilize resources to support areas for growth in classrooms across the district. CBAs only assess a portion of the scope and sequence for the year. These assessments are subject to change every year as we amend the scope and sequence along with questions on the assessment each year. The data from CBAs is best used to determine the needs of this year's classrooms on this year's scope and sequence. CBAs are designed to maintain the level of rigor of the state standards and applicable STAR exams. Questions are selected to align to the rigor of the state standards and the STAR test. Thus, the passing standard used by the state as a minimum threshold is also used for our CBAs. As we design CBAs, questions are selected from multiple banks, then aligned to the calendar so that only items that should have been taught are tested. Teachers are provided time to vet each CBA. Then blueprints and guidelines for testing are provided. Additionally, this year, we sought feedback from each teacher providing a CBA to find out what went well and what could be improved. We will use this data to improve CBAs as we move forward. The results have already been analyzed by teachers, campuses, and district teams with a focus on what the results mean, why are they important, and what we should do about them now. At the district level, we assembled a team from curriculum and instruction, digital learning, special programs, language acquisition, and principal supervisors. Members from this team collected feedback from principals and visited key high-performing and low-performing classrooms across the district. Our intent was to identify those classrooms with excellent practices that could be reproduced, along with classrooms that may need additional targeted supports. As we've reassembled, we focused on action steps moving forward. We have worked collaboratively with principals as they take further action on their campuses to support classrooms and to replicate best practices. Now let me walk you through the data tables that you are about to see. At the elementary level, the campuses are arranged horizontally at the top of the chart. Then you will see 5 rows below each of the campuses. The first row tells you the percent of students that passed the CVA last year, while the third row tells you the percent of students that passed the CVA this year.
Oh, well, excuse me, but can you say that that is at the beginning of the year or the end of the year for the last year?
That is for the same CVA, same point in time.
Okay.
Yes, sir. The second and fourth row will show you how a campus did in comparison to the district average last year on the second row, and while the fourth row shows the same for this year. This allows us to identify certain campuses that are excelling in a particular curriculum area for further exploration, or campuses that may need additional support. The final row allows for us to see how a campus has gained or lost ground between this year and last year when compared to the district. This gives us an idea of which campuses have seen meaningful and significant growth or decline between this year and last year. At the secondary level, you will see the same information, only this time the campuses are arranged vertically rather than horizontally, with the last column giving us an idea of which campuses have seen meaningful and significant growth or decline between this year and last compared to the district average. Now let's take a look at the data, beginning with elementary math. As we look at third grade math, you can see that Velasco Elementary, in the nearly last column, has made significant improvement over last year, while Brannon and Ney have both shown decline. Campus administrators, content, and instructional support are already present at campuses that have shown decline. In fourth grade math, once again we see that Ney stands out and is already receiving additional support, while we have seen great growth at Griffith Elementary. In fifth grade, we didn't see any significant changes among the campuses, with the exception of SFA, which showed strong gains. In sixth grade math, we can see that Clute Intermediate School has a need for additional supports, while our other campuses have remained relatively steady. For seventh grade, there have been no significant changes, and support continues to be provided to specific classrooms and areas in need. As we continue middle school, Clute Intermediate continues to lead the pack in 8th grade math, and our passing rates overall remain near the 90s. As we move to high school, there's no significant changes in how campuses are comparing to the district average in Algebra 1. We are pleased to see once again passing rates in the 90s this year. As we take a closer look at the strengths and areas of improvement in math, problem solving is a key element in math classrooms across the district. Students are being exposed to rigorous math problems to help prepare them for the rigor of the CBAs, mock, and STAR. We're pleased to see the use of manipulatives and hands-on learning activities for our students. Some areas of improvement for the math department are ensuring that supporting standards are being scaffolded during instruction throughout the year. There are gaps in student learning which cause issues as students move from one grade level to the next. As we continue to review and scaffold these hard concepts all year, students are exposed to the skills and how they can receive support that they need to understand the skills. This time we'll move on to science. In 5th grade science, we see a strong performance at Stephen F. Austin and Rasco, while Clute and Lanier continue to need additional support. Teachers across 5th grade in the district are showing high levels of collaboration and willingness to share best practices. 8th grade science did not see significant changes across the district, and we're pleased to see passing rates near the 90s. Biology at the high school level did not see significant changes. Brazos Success this year has 2 traditional classrooms of biology and is collaborating with our high schools on best practices in the classrooms. The strengths that we see in science involve hands-on learning. We're seeing in classrooms that allow content exploration through these hands-on labs. This allows for students to review previously learned content, as well as opportunity for students to have peer interaction. Students are able to relate to the hands-on labs when making a connection to new vocabulary that's often found in science. Another strength in science is the blended learning model within the classrooms. Students work in groups with content introduced in a variety of means, and most importantly, the teacher provides direct teaching and feedback to small groups of students to help move learning forward. The key areas for improvement involve 5th grade science. Our 5th grade teachers are adjusting to a new scope and sequence this year. During their professional learning communities, they are constantly exploring how to maximize the use of our new district resource, STEM scopes. Now we'll explore reading. In 3rd grade, once again we see strong gains at Velasco Elementary in the last column. While certain campuses such as Stephen F. Austin, Brannan, Ney, and Polk have shown decline and already have support in place. At the 4th grade level, there's no significant gaps in performance from the campuses in 4th grade. They all seem to be around near the same average. Supports are put into place for some specific classrooms that may be lower performing compared to the district. In 5th grade reading, Stephen F. Austin and Rasco are performing at the top of the district. However, other campuses continue to need some support and additional focus. The largest shift in performance in the 6th grade reading came from Stephen F. Austin, who exceeded the district average by 8 percentage points. Once again, supports are in place for individual classrooms where we expect to see more growth on future assessments. As we move to 7th grade, the fact that in our 7th grade ELA classes, our campuses are closing the gap between campus performance may speak to the consistency with which classrooms are implementing the newly developed and revised curriculum documents. We've seen all campuses grow compared to the district average this year. 8th grade ELA is where we see the most consistency in campus performances. While LJI did show some decline, we have provided additional training to the campus already and are continuing to support through their professional learning communities. As we move to high school, in English 1 we see no significant changes in comparative campus performances between this year and last. English 1 and English 2 teachers from both campuses are currently participating in Lead Forward's 2-year literacy academy and are beginning to implement balanced literacy components as a result of this professional development. In English 2, we do not see significant changes for either campus as well. They too are participating in the Lead Forward Academy. The key strengths that we see across the district in English language arts fall into reporting category 1, which crosses genres, and reporting category 2, which is specific to certain literary genres. The standards represented by these strengths are repeated in multiple grade levels, so they are not new learning for students. Rather, the rigor changes as the students apply the skills to more difficult texts in each grade level. As we look at the areas for improvement, the first 2 areas of need listed here come from what was once Figure 19D that focuses on inferencing in grades 3 through 8, and is still the case in high school. This is a trend across the state and continues to be an area of instructional focus for all grade levels. The third, drawing conclusions about theme, is a skill that is scaffolded through the first 2. And as a result, reteaching efforts in the first 2 areas for improvement should amplify efforts in the third. Finally, we'll move to social studies. As we explore social studies, 8th grade at Clute Intermediate showed decline and has 2 faculty members new to the content who are receiving regular support by the district and campus level personnel. At the high school with U.S. History, we do not see any significant changes. All of the U.S. History faculty are participating in a Lead Forward Social Studies Academy, and the 5 new faculty members in United States History are receiving campus and district support. In social studies, there is strong evidence of Tier 1 priorities in high-performing classrooms. Faculty are using color-coded progressive timelines in the classrooms to support students with success in identifying eras. And we have seen strong student performance in certain targeted areas listed in this slide. The concepts that you see on this slide were challenges for our students and will continue to be spirals throughout the year to ensure mastery. The ultimate purpose of collecting this data is so that we can take action to ensure that all students in all classrooms are learning at high levels, as we replicate best practices and come alongside to support in areas of need. That work is well underway. At this time, I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the board?
When's the next round?
The next round, we have a round in December, and then we follow that up with mock STAR testing, which begins in February, and then again in March, April, for certain subjects, depends on when their STAR test is.
Brian, can you go back to English 1? So for last year, 2018, the district average is 61%.
Yes, sir.
Does that mean the same thing as it did when I was a kid in school? 61%, 61 is...
So what that means is that for we set...
These are not roughly ninth graders?
Yes, roughly ninth graders.
Okay.
So we set a certain pass score that students have to achieve on the curriculum to say that they have passed this test.
Okay.
That score is based off of what the state says the student has to pass the STAR. And the reason that we use that score is because we're not willing to necessarily compromise the level of rigor of the test or the questions. Now, the key for a CBA...
So it is at least as rigorous as the state?
Yes.
Okay.
It is at least as rigorous as the state. The other key is the STAR test assesses the entire scope of the curriculum. Everything's fair game on the STAR test, right?
Okay.
But on a CBA, only a little section.
Okay.
Now, it's very possible that that little section could be the more difficult section when compared to the STAR test, which is why we look at the average and compare to the average, because what we cover each year and when we cover it can change based on student need and the results of previous tests.
It just, on the surface, I mean, 61% seems low.
Yes, on the surface, you're absolutely right.
Well, on STAR, there was one that was 56 passing last year, wasn't
Right.
there?
Yes, yes.
Okay. But from 18 to 19, it went from 61 to 74 for this same period?
Right, and what I would caution here is, in some cases, the tests are the same year over year, and in other cases, the tests change because the scope and sequence changes, so we have to change the test as a result. Or we get feedback from teachers that says, the test last year wasn't a good test, we need to change some items.
Okay.
So that's why it's not necessarily valuable to look at the 61 and the 74 and go, yay, it's a 13-point increase.
Right, okay. Okay, that particular one caught my eyes.
Absolutely.
All right, that's all I got. Any other questions?
Yeah, for the next round of the CBA, can we get this data here and the second round data so we can,
Side by
side, see the improvement?
To see
See where we are, have we gone up, have we gone down? Maybe going down may be not that bad, but just, as you guys were talking about, a relative number, but just to see if, it's gotta mean something.
Right. We can definitely explore some options there. The one key that I would caution once again would be it would be best to compare that to the district average, in the sense of so for instance right now this year for the first part, Brazosport was 8 points below the district average, whereas Brazos was 3 points above the district average for this CBA. Those would be the numbers we would want to compare it to CBA 2, because if we looked at the 66 and the 77. Once again, we're only measuring a limited scope of the scope and sequence for CBA 2, so the actual percentage there wouldn't be as valuable as how far above or below the average that particular campus was. But yes, that could be meaningful to look at.
What does for the two school situation, what does the district average tell us?
That essentially tells us how all of our students performed, right?
Right.
So overall, all of our students performed. We see that Brazoswood is higher and Brazosport is lower. So it gives us a context in which to measure other campuses and see how they're changing in relatively.
I gotta think about that one.
So for instance, right now, when it comes to the STAR, we compare ourselves to the state average.
Right.
So
Exactly.
how far above or below we are the state. For our CBAs, we do not have a state average to compare to, so what we're able to use is our district average to compare multiple campuses. Yes, when it comes to the high schools, there's less campuses, so it becomes a little bit less, but what we can see when we have certain campuses that are either gaining or closing the gaps as we might in, so biology, well, I'd have to click through to find a better
That's fine,
example, but
yeah.
yes, we can see how campuses move
Right.
based on that.
I guess the thing is that comparing to the district average, I don't think it's as meaningful as comparing to, what we did last year versus this year. I mean, I think. The district average to me doesn't tell me a whole lot. I mean, it tells me where we are, but making that comparison doesn't really.
Yeah, but last
The
year,
problem
it's
would be,
it's not the same test anyway,
the
so,
test
right?
is not the same,
Yeah.
is the problem
And
with
the scope
comparing from this
change,
year to
yeah.
last year. When the scope and
in
sequence
some
changes and the test changes. In majority of the cases, we had changes to our test this year.
Is the CBA 2 only cover that 9 weeks or whatever period test, or is that CBA 1 and 2 combined into 2?
In most cases, it will cover that 9 weeks, but with possibly a few additional questions
From CBA 1?
from CBA 1. But in most cases, it's the second 9 weeks.
So we're not building.
We
Should we be building on that?
We build with a mock start that happens in February, March, or April, depending on the subject. The idea is that we provide an assessment within a 45 to 50 minute.
Correct, faster.
Correct.
easier.
Right. And we don't want to have campuses shut down to take a CBA, because then
Too
they
long,
could lose an
yeah.
entire day of instruction. When you're delivering it across all 4 subjects, that's potentially 4 days of instruction lost.
So with the change in testing, last year's, for elementary particularly, last year's score on reading or math, really it's not compared to the 4th grade. It's not.
Correct. It would not be apples to apples. The best way, after lots of thought and consideration, is comparing it to the district average. A campus's relative performance to the district average year over year gives us a good snapshot for how did campuses do last year, how did campuses do this year. In elementary reading, the entire TEKS changed, so the entire scope and sequence changed as a result. But this still gives us a good idea for which campuses are truly
In the most need. Yeah.
in the most need
Yeah.
or showed the most improvement. Yes.
Based on the.
Most improvements, you can't judge that because that's, the highest number is going to skew the average anyway, but the ones that have the lowest obviously changes that. But
Right. Right.
most improved really doesn't mean anything because it's not a real number. Because you're just comparing it back to yourself, but the lower one makes more sense.
However, I would say, for instance, we saw Velasco Elementary. In some cases, their average improved 20 percentage points year over year, which that shows us they made something change there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if I read this, basically, each school and each subject, and maybe each teacher the data has been dived into and making sure, okay, we need this here, that there, and
Yes.
so that has been done.
So we have, in 2 different ways, both as central office staff, we looked at some of the highest performing classrooms, lowest performing classrooms, actually went out to campuses to see what we could learn and what additional supports we could provide. We also worked with principals collaboratively. Principals analyzed the data with their teacher teams at their own campuses, but also at the most recent principal meeting and assistant principal meeting, we provided them list of all the classrooms across the district so that they could see where some strong classrooms were and some classrooms that may be in need of assistance were. So that opened some more collaborative conversations between principals to be able to identify, hey, maybe can I have a couple of teachers come and see what's going on great in your classrooms at your campus? So yes, we've done that, and we have action plans and steps that we're taking as a direct result of these CBAs.
How many truly tangible things come out of those? Like, this teacher's doing this for this subject, we need to make sure that everyone's doing that. Or is it just, hey, that teacher's really good at teaching math, or really good at teaching addition?
So I'll give you a great example. So we found that in some low-performing classrooms, there were some procedures and processes that weren't fully ingrained, that were missing, that could use some coaching and development. We also identified several classrooms across the district where there were high-performing classrooms, students were doing well, and teachers were very structured and had routines and processes in place. And we could quantify and measure those and take those practices back. We're going to provide a professional development for principals to identify particular teachers to attend, and we're going to actually have them go through the classrooms of some of those teachers that have those processes and procedures so they can start those relationships and begin to identify how can I bring this back to my classroom to improve outcomes for my students. So that's just one, and that's very broad, but it is a specific action, and then there were other content-based ones as well that we looked at and go, this teacher's doing this very well, and we need other teachers to see this. And some of those we're working to videos so we can share out with other teachers and have some coaching conversations.
Good.
So do we have time in these areas where we need improvement? Do we have time to make a difference this year?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are only in November.
Right.
There is plenty of time to make a difference.
And so on the ones, just in general, the various subjects of schools that are doing well, we do have effort to maintain them, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We are, administrators are in classrooms all the time, checking out, learning, seeing what's going on. We continue to monitor through our CBAs. That's part of the purpose of CBAs, is where are we strong, where are we weak. So that's part of the monitoring. If we see the next CBA that there are certain campuses, grade levels, or classrooms that have slipped, principals are going to be on top of it. We're going to be aware of what's going on and exploring what might have happened there as well. So absolutely, that continues to be monitored in various forms.
Well, I think we owe a debt of gratitude to you and your content coordinator.
All of our
all those guys out there, like I say, we still have time, but thanks, we appreciate it. We're here to make sure the kids can get a good education by the best quality teachers.
Any other questions? Mr. Cole?
Yeah, you go direct.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda under reports is item C, board committee reports. Anyone wants to share?
Attended the CTE advisory board meeting 2 weeks ago. Aaron Ennis and Jesse Bennington went over the signing day program, explained that to the different companies, and several of them got even much more excited, kind of like Wood did when they had their signing day. So they're going to work with those, promote it more, work with those guys, and move forward.
Can we include that with our senior scholarship night, announce some of those people so that it can be promoted in the same way as some academic success that those students have? Promote that too? Put out a little bit more.
Also, Joe and I were lucky enough to go to Rising Sport football game. The outcome was what we wanted, but it was a little chilly too. But it's like Danny mentioned, 3 years in a row for the playoffs is history makers. And then also both volleyball teams got to go one step further, so making some inroads there. So that's good.
I'd like to give a shout out to all the campuses on the Veterans Day celebrations. They were pretty incredible. I was able to go to 4 or 5 of them, but one that struck me was at LJI, and they did a fantastic job. And I was sitting next to I assume he was probably a Navy recruiter or whatever, but he grew up in Houston, and they had some of the family members there that were veterans, and he was blown away. He said this would never happen in Houston. And for us to instill that into our kids at a young age, it's going to, obviously it's going to make a big difference, but it was a great job. Appreciate that.
One other thing too, real quick, the 3 literacy nights, that was top notch. You guys did a gem-up job. That made a difference into the Bradford ISD Police Department. They're all 3, they were the star readers. They had readers lined up all over the place, but nope, the police did the beating. And so, that was, even the little one at Fort Cleveland was at the college. It was raining cats and dogs, and water was everywhere, and they had a full house, and so, all of them.
That's the Fine Arts Center.
Oh, excuse me, it's the Fine Arts Center included, right next door to the Lake Jackson city limit sign. But, at any rate, I appreciate that, what we've done, and I hope that we can continue to expand that, and maybe do it multiple times a year. Sometimes I know it's a pain, probably, to organize, but it's beneficial to our kids, and that's the most important thing. And so, very much appreciated.
One more. Yes, sir.
Just a shout out to all of our coaches too. I know whenever we brought on the AD, that one of the focuses of the board was making sure that our intermediate schools were serviced and that our high school coaches were getting engaged and involved with our intermediate school students. And I follow a number of the intermediate school coaches on Twitter, and all of our high school coaches are running training drills, basketball drills, soccer drills, football drills, all that. Our high school coaches are going, spending time at campuses on our intermediate school. You go to any of the intermediate games, high school coaches are there watching. Go to the high school games, intermediate school coaches are there watching. So I really think that's been great. I think it's going to pay dividends for us in the long run too, that we're getting a lot of good training. They're getting exposed to coaches. They get to know these coaches and be around them, and I think it'll pay dividends for us for a long time. But congrats to those intermediate school coaches too for really embracing it and doing it.
All right. Let's move forward. Our next regular scheduled work session discussion will be on December the 16th. That'll be our regular board meeting. And then our next item tonight is executive session. It may be called for the purposes permitted by the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code Section 551.001 through 551.146, Sections 551.071, consultation with attorney, Section 551.074, personnel matters. It includes appointment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, dismissal, and complaint.
No executive session.
And apparently we don't need one, so.
Must be his coach.
No, that's right, start on the road.
Don't let him get on 130 there.
Even Dunn convinced me we didn't read that whole thing.
I know, unless there are any other objections, then we will stand adjourned.